Welcome everyone to Wine Wednesday with the beautiful Amy.
Gorgeous, gracious Tracy.
We are so happy to have you back. About 3 weeks ago, I think it was, we had a video go out where we were asking your questions. What would you like us to answer on today's video? That is what we are going to be doing today. I have been watching the trail of comments come in, looking for a thread to see what it is that you guys would like us to talk about. So we are going to answer a few of those questions today. Stop the video, go get whatever it is that you would like to drink. We're going to have a little Bordeaux, a little red, which is
lovely.
Red never does us wrong.
Never.
White doesn't either though. Sparkling.
We can find some color in every wine that we enjoy. Rosé occasion.
Whatever it is, it never seems to do us wrong. So stop the video, go get whatever it is that you would like to drink, and come back and join us. Oh my gosh. All right, we have our drinks, we have our questions, we are armed and ready to go. Cheers, my beautiful friend.
Cheers to you.
Waited all week for this. Waited all week for this.
I didn't wait. Started early last night. My weekend began last night.
What I decided to do for today's video is, because I want to get more than a couple in, I have decided to have Amy answer some, solely just Amy, and I'm going to refrain from chiming in. This is going to be hard, but the thing is what generally happens is we will get on a topic and we can go back and forth because we build, we expand off of what each other shares. Mm-hmm. And I think we're really good at that. I think we really complement one another, but this is a Q&A, and if we only do one question or two because we're expanding so much, we won't get anywhere. So we're going to try to keep our answers a little bit more brief. It will be hard because, again, I always have so much that I want to say. I know you do as well, but we want to try to cover, I've got 5 and maybe 6. So let's start with the first one. This came in from Tiffany, and I'm going to give this to Amy. How do you function in a healthy way when you and your significant other both grew up in dysfunctional families? I find it really hard to connect with my partner as he is emotionally absent. Counselor Amy, what do you have to say as I drink?
The first thought that comes to my mind is get into therapy. Unfortunately, a lot of times, some people still have a stigma against therapy. Nothing's wrong with me, or what have you, but this is a difficult situation. I think it happens with several couples, though. Oftentimes when people have had dysfunctional upbringing, they have a tendency to, some people want to cling to their partner and some people want to withdraw and have the wall. So it sounds as though that is what you're dealing with, Tiffany. So if you can't get into counseling, whether it's individual or couples, or ideally would be both, basically, you're going to have to learn to draw that out of him. Play the psychologist. And I jokingly say, ask, well, how did that make you feel? You're going to have to ask the leading questions with your partner, just significant other. I didn't want to make any assumptions.
Right.
You are going to have to really ask those questions to draw out the emotion. And like I said, if your partner is struggling with something, well, dig. You're going to have to dig, and you're going to have to, ensure your partner that he or she is in an environment where he or she won't be judged. Mm-hmm. So really make that, and a welcoming kind
It's
of
like safe, like almost like a safe environment.
Yes, exactly. That's a very brief answer, and as Tracy said, we have to keep it brief.
It's hard.
But
you did a good job.
You can always reach out. You can always reach out to
right.
us. Either one of us could coach in that area.
Yeah.
If you, otherwise, get into counseling.
You know, you struck something with me. Okay, so I think everyone on the planet Earth could benefit from counseling, no matter where you're at. It's kind of like, I have business coaches. I do very well in business, but I have coaches. I think life coaches, counselors, we all need a little bit. That doesn't mean there's anything wrong with you.
I benefit from counseling.
Absolutely.
I mean, every one of us, really.
What my question is, and share with the community, I know when I have resource counseling or therapy, it's costly, and a lot of insurance companies do not cover it. So
most insurance companies must cover it now.
Okay.
There have been so many changes. Mental health has to be covered.
Okay.
Now, it depends on your insurance. You may have a large deductible.
Okay.
But most of my clients, I have some clients who have zero copay.
Well, that's great.
Yeah.
So there you go. A topic that was probably the most prominent in the commenting section. This is going to be on sleep divorce. Amanda asked about it and started a trail of comments. Now, let me share with you that I had never heard of the term sleep divorce. And when I saw it in the commenting section, I thought, I have an idea of what sleep divorce could be, but maybe I'm wrong because I've never actually heard the term. So I had to go and Google it and Google what sleep divorce is, which was no surprise to me that people do sleep separate. So sleep divorce was not a surprise. The term sleep divorce is what surprised me. And frankly, I really just don't like it because I don't think, I do not feel that divorce should be associated with how a person chooses to sleep.
With you.
So let me share with you, because I think there's a misconception going on where some people may think that sleep divorce means sexless marriage. It does not. They are two separate things. So here is what sleep divorce is. Simply put, sleep divorce is sleeping in a different bedroom from your partner or spouse, allowing you both to sleep peacefully on your own schedule and in an environment that suits your best needs. Now, so again, you never heard sex being associated, and I did receive a lot of questions in regards to sex, sexless marriage, scheduling sex, how often should you have sex, how to vamp up your sex life.
It sounds like a whole video.
That's a whole video.
Yeah.
So make sure you're subscribed because we are going to come back next month, and it may even take a couple months of videos and more wine.
Our theme song.
Yeah, I know. I need to somehow buy the download so I can play it with this.
Because I don't. Funny story about that song. I'll tell you later.
Okay. Over wine.
Someone
later.
mentioned it to my son.
Well, Amy sings it much better than me, like everything else. So I think I did sing it in the last video. But anyway, sleep divorce is not a sexless marriage. And it is so important to get quality sleep. And let's face it, when we are sleep deprived, it creates commotion in ourselves, our day, and how we treat others. So I believe there is power in getting quality sleep. If for some reason you are not getting quality sleep with your partner, and there's many reasons this could be, it could be snoring, it could be different sleep schedules. Maybe he's on third shift and he's sleeping at a different time. Many people have different work schedules, so therefore sleep divorce and sleeping in separate quarters or arrangements or beds, whatever may work for them. You could have health reasons. Maybe someone has sleep apnea. Perhaps someone has asthma and they have breathing issues. There can be many reasons that can prevent someone from getting sleep. So if your partner is on board and supports the two of you sleeping separately because of some reason, then who could tell you that it's wrong? So I can't really say that it can harm the health of a relationship because we're only talking about sleep. Again, if we were talking about sex and the impact that a sexless marriage could have on a relationship, that's a whole new topic. Wouldn't you agree?
Absolutely.
Sleep, sex are two separate things.
I agree.
It's unfortunate if people need to sleep separately, but my goodness, it's sleep. It's so important. So if it works for you, and again, your partner is on board, because I think this needs to be communicated. This is something where if you're considering it, you want to sit down with your spouse, your significant other, whatever your arrangement is. And I would say right away, when you bring up the topic, you really need to preface this has nothing to do with sex, because if he thinks he's not going to get sex anymore, he is not going to support sleep divorce, I assure you. So right away, I would say, I want to have a conversation with you about our sleeping arrangements. Bear in mind, this has nothing to do with sex. You don't technically need a bed to have sex anyway, right? I mean, we're going to talk about vamping things up in the next video.
Mine's going all kinds of places now.
But really, and if it's something that you feel you are going to be judged by, I mean, again, no one can really judge a couple that is choosing this arrangement. But I feel like if it were me, although I may not care what other people think, this is something I probably would keep pretty personal between my husband and I. I may share it with someone real close. I'd probably share it with maybe Amy or, a really close relative, or my kids, if they could understand what the arrangement was, especially if you have children in the home. But if you feel, if being judged or other people's opinion affect you, just keep this to yourself. It does not need to be verbalized. But sleep divorce, if it works for you and your spouse, your significant other, I see nothing wrong with it. And we will definitely hit on the sex topic in the future videos next month and maybe the following one. All right, let's move on to the next question for Amy. Brandy asks, and really what happened with these questions is if someone had a question and a lot of you gave it a thumbs up, I gauged these questions from there. Brandy, here's your question. How to handle narcissist and toxic family members. Good luck, Aim. Good luck.
Now, the biggest challenge here, there's no way I can thoroughly answer this in 5 minutes. Let me tell you, this is a huge topic. Believe it or not, there's actually an increase in narcissism. Keeping in mind that there's a fluidity to it. There are different levels, I guess, of narcissism, if you will. The biggest thing to remember is that narcissists typically are going to try to manipulate you. They're going to try to have you question yourself. So it's incredibly important for you to know who you are, for you to know your truth, for you to know your value. You may need your own therapy in dealing with a narcissist, because those that have the diagnosis of narcissistic personality disorder, that can be so devastating to someone's own self-esteem. I have people who have completely changed their whole self-value because they were married to a narcissist. So keep in mind that they are going to try to have you question yourself. They're very demeaning and manipulative.
That was the word I was looking for.
Yes.
Yeah, very manipulating.
You have to also know they will never be in therapy because nothing's wrong with them. They're not going to take any kind of criticism. They're not going to take any kind of suggestion whatsoever because they know everything. The biggest thing, in addition to therapy, is to just not engage, to emotionally distance yourself from what they are trying to do to you. It's almost like you have to kind of have that awareness and observe it, but not take it in, not absorb it, not let it be your truth, because that is their perception. That has nothing to do with reality. Most of their perception has nothing to do with reality. So you have to know your own truth, you have to know your own value, and you have to You have to harden yourself against that, the demeaning comments and the manipulation. Again, I think it's really important for somebody in this kind of relationship, if there is a relationship that they cannot alleviate from their life, that they get help in dealing with it, because the effects can truly be devastating.
Yeah. Do you feel, and I'm going to expand a little bit, but I'm going to just enhance your question. Do you feel that narcissist people they sense that they can pick up on character or personality traits that make someone susceptible? Meaning, see, I think this. So that's why
Absolutely.
I think
looking
there's
for that codependent person
Yep.
that they can manipulate, and they're going to find any of your weaknesses in the beginning of the relationship. They may say, "Oh, tell me this, tell me more. I want to know all about you," but they're going to use that
Yes.
against you
Yes.
in the future. And gaslighting is a real thing. They're going to make you think that you're crazy, that you don't remember things correctly, that you're making things up.
And you can search gaslighting on the web to get more familiar with that term that Amy just used. This one was hard for me to not want to answer, but I feel like this is something that is to the level of needing therapy for sure. But I do believe, yes, some people are more of a target, and it goes back to, we talk all the time, your own self-awareness, your own self-assessment, so that you can develop, so that you are not vulnerable to those type of people, because there are
Right.
people that are vulnerable to that.
Right, exactly. And believe me, the narcissist looks for those kinds of people.
That's right.
They
You're a target.
have to have somebody who builds them up and makes them feel special. And I'm not saying that I don't do that for my husband.
Well, sure.
But by the same token, he doesn't use that against me to make me feel weak, to make me feel lesser than.
Yes. And we'll talk a little bit about lesser than in a moment. And I really feel like this could be a great video as well, but I feel like there's so many components to it.
Absolutely.
And it's not the narcissist that's going to be watching.
Oh gosh.
It's
Oh,
not.
goodness,
Yeah, no. Okay. So we can
No,
go
that's
on.
what I'm saying. Narcissists aren't
No.
in therapy unless their partner drags
Drags
them
them in.
and the narcissist is thinking, "Oh, good,
You're going to fix.
counselor
Is going to fix my partner
had-
because there's nothing wrong with me.
I had a
It's
couple
all
like
her
that.
or whatever. Yeah.
And he would not admit
Budge.
to any wrongdoing.
No.
Nothing was his fault.
Yeah. And that really makes me go back to the toxic relationship. When do you call it quits? And again, I talk about, I have to keep the marriage thing separate, but there comes a point where, there's that
Boundaries.
Yeah.
Boundaries.
Thank you. All right.
Magic word.
Yes, we're moving on. We are moving on from that hot topic. Thank you, Brandy.
Yes.
That's such a powerful topic. It really is, and something that we certainly could expand on down the road.
Absolutely.
The next question, I love this one. It received a lot of thumbs up as well. This comes in from Chris. She says, I would love for you to address the importance of humility in today's society. There is so much importance placed on our egos, and those who are shy by nature often seemed overlooked. Yes, the egomaniacs, we all know who they are. And there is nothing that is more off-putting as those people that see themselves better than others. And I think the worst is above the rules. This will damage relationships, this will damage careers, and it is a big problem. There's a couple different ways I want to go with this. The first one I want to do is talk about the self-awareness, the self-assessment, to see if you fall into the egomaniac category. If you see yourself as higher up, more educated, more powerful, more knowledgeable, healthier, more in shape, it can be anything. If you see yourself more elevated than other people, I think there's a big ego getting in the way, because we are all different, and you may have more education than someone else, but it doesn't necessarily make you smarter. You may be in better shape than someone else, but it doesn't make you a more disciplined person or one that can execute willpower more. The best thing that we can do is learn to humble ourselves. And when it comes to the big things in life, and there will be big things, I assure you, right? There will be big things.
Absolutely.
You really do need to learn to humble yourself, because what happens when something major happens, that big trip up in life that happens to just about everyone, maybe to different capacities and levels, but we all make errors. We all make mistakes. We all have a free will, and we all do fall short, folks. We really do. Don't hold anyone to a pedestal. And even when Amy and I are speaking here, don't hold us to any pedestal. We are just like everyone else out there. We deal with the same struggles. We've made the same mistakes. We have regrets in life as well. The best thing that you can do is recognize that and humble yourself. Because when you fail or when you fall, people that recognize you as being a humble person will be there to lift you back up, to build you back up. But if they don't see that humility in you, they are going to be okay with seeing you fall short. They are actually going to celebrate that win, and that's not where you want to be. You will never be a leader if you cannot learn to humble yourself. Some of the biggest entrepreneurs that are out in this world today are very humble people. And I could name many, but I'm not going to. They know humility. So if you see yourself as someone who needs to humble yourself, I strongly encourage you to, because there could be a time in your life that you are really going to need to lead that example. I do want to move on to the second part of the question. I'm trying to get this in without going too long.
I have to tell you, this
go
is
for
one
it.
of the most, this is one of the most, this has been on my mind so much lately, and I'm so thankful that Chris brought that up, and your beautiful answer. I'm almost in tears, just because, this is one thing I strive for the most, is to always have that humility.
Mm-hmm.
And the interesting thing is that it is lacking, which is why the statistics are higher for narcissism.
That's right. Mm-hmm.
Because
exactly.
we have this, and part of it is a generational thing, but I just think that when that happens, when you don't have humility and you're all about your ego, there's a lack of empathy, there's a lack of connecting, which is what happens with these narcissists. And so I just thank you, Chris, and thank you, Tracy, for your beautiful answer.
I think it is. As Chris said, it's a big problem. It is. What is social media doing for humanity? And it's so hard, because social media can be so good and so powerful to build us, but it can break people down so much. And it requires you to be able to assess, is this serving my well-being or is it not? And if it's not, it requires you to step away from what doesn't serve you. But often we're too attached to it. If it's bringing you down because you're comparing yourself, it doesn't serve you. Step away.
Or if it's making you spend too much money.
Yeah.
I'm taking a break. I have not shared that with you. I've been so much better this year.
Let me be your accountability partner. Wouldn't that be good?
I've been much better this year. I'm not, by doing that.
I think you're doing just fine. But I want to expand on the second part of Chris's question, where she says some people are shy by nature and often have a difficult time getting their point of view across and having conversations in general. Again, you cannot fix others, the egomaniacs, the railroaders, and I love this one I put in here, or the professional complainers. We can't do anything about them. And we all know about the professional complainers. Again, AKA victim. But anyway, Chris, and anyone else out there who would classify themselves as shy, a lot of people that are shy feel that this is a negative. And in reality, it is not. It's just a contrast to those that are more outgoing. Being an introvert versus an extrovert is not a negative. Actually, there's a lot of positives to being an introvert. There's a lot of positives to being shy. But I think a lot of people that fall into that trait see it as a negative, but I think you need to learn how to say, how can I use this to my advantage? So do not see your shyness as being flawed. See it as a contrast to those that are more outgoing. One of the things that you can kind of pay attention to is, who are you conversing with? Even if you're conversing with someone who is more outgoing, if that person really cares about you, generally they are going to encourage you to talk a little more, encourage you to share. They're going to put those lead-in questions. For myself, I am a little bit more outgoing. So what I do, if I'm in a situation and let's say there's several people at the table and I can tell that one of the people may be a little bit shyer, I will offer lead-in questions. What happens though, let's say Chris is at my table, I may say, Chris, did you do anything for spring break this year? And Chris proceeds to say, yes, my family and I went to Florida. And then boom, Lisa over here says, I went to Florida too. We. And you're like, no. So there's a couple things that happen because you know Chris is going to kind of back down and not say anything because the shy person will. I'm not saying that the outgoing person would try to overpower. It just depends on their personality. This is when you have to gauge whether or not you should step in or you shouldn't. And sometimes an outside source may chime in. This is how I would handle that situation. Chris, what did you do anything for spring break? Yes, my family and I went to Florida. Lisa over here, Lisa, just a second. Chris was speaking. What did you say, Chris? I'm sorry. So I wasn't rude, but I'm supporting Chris and I want her to finish up with her conversation. You are not always going to get someone that can kind of facilitate that, unfortunately. One of the things that happens with shy individuals, they are not quick on their feet like a lot of outgoing people are. Outgoing people, we're quick thinkers. We can belt one out. Not always a positive. My camera just shut off. I am not sure where it left off, but I am honing in on Chris's question. I'm talking about tips for if you are someone who is more shy. So I apologize if I missed somewhere where I was at, but really what I was trying to say is if you are going someplace, like let's say to a meeting, or maybe you have to get together with your relatives and you're going to be planning a bridal shower, and you have a lot of great points that you want to present, but you know you're going to be overpowered by your two sister-in-laws and your mother, go armed and loaded. And at the end of the day, there's nothing wrong with saying, excuse me, I was still speaking. Just be polite about the way you're doing it. But yeah, you are at a disadvantage in those situations, but I just encourage you to put it out there. Don't, just because you're quieter doesn't mean that what you have to say doesn't matter. It matters a lot. And often you have, better ideas, better suggestions. It's just, you have to get them out there. So have the confidence in yourself and use your shyness to your advantage. Did you want to chime anything in real quick?
Just a little.
I love it. I love it.
No,
I know.
And this part speaks to me. I don't know that I wouldn't say that I'm introverted. And I wouldn't say that I'm shy. I once was. However, and I've discussed this before, I had to make peace with the fact that as much as maybe I wanted to be the life of the party, the vivacious one, that's not me either. But I have recognized the value in being someone who genuinely cares about people, who, could practice humility. And guess what? Tracy appreciates that.
Oh my gosh.
People in my life appreciate that. People appreciate you for who you are, Chris. You don't have to be the center of attention to have people appreciate who you are at your core.
That's right.
And so that has meant a lot to me in my life.
Don't think that it's always a positive if that person is the center of attention. It's not always a good thing. And they often are the ones that do interrupt. That's one of the things that I've recognized. A lot of times they do lack a little self-awareness. And I'm not saying that if you're outgoing and you're an extrovert that it's a negative, but sometimes many don't have a filter and they need to.
And sometimes they're not connecting as much as people like Chris are.
That's right.
It's more superficial, it's more at the surface, it's not those deep connections, which I am so thankful for in my life. And
Yeah.
we have that.
Yeah, right.
So
yeah.
we just
it's
good
that
balance.
contrast. It definitely is.
Sure.
So, Chris, I hope this was helpful. I hope that you can glean something here.
And I'm so thankful that
Yeah.
you sent that question.
Yeah.
Like I said,
Yeah,
your answer
I
was
love it.
perfect.
All right, we have one more today, and this is going to be for Amy. Susan asked, and she received many thumbs up on this question. How do you clear your mind from your work day when you have had a stressful day? How do you refrain from taking that home with you and allowing it to affect your evening time with your family and also letting it affect your sleep? Ami, go for it while I have a drink.
Some people ask, how can I leave all of the darkness? I get a lot of darkness. I have some clients who come in and I feed off of their anxiousness, whether it's a ritual. I am a firm believer in meditation. Meditation is going to help you be more mindful. And when you arrive home, whether you do some kind of practice in the workplace before you leave, 10 minutes of meditation, or on the way home, you can do something to kind of disengage in the way of music, an audiobook, something that is going to take your mind elsewhere. It's a practice. It's not something that's going to happen overnight. Meditation, though, like I said, I'm a firm believer, whether you do that before you leave the office or once you get home, or do some kind of activity that helps you escape whatever you experienced. Like I said, whether it's music, whether maybe it's a physical activity, maybe you go to the gym on the way home from work. But it's just very important, I think, for all of us to develop a sense of mindfulness, of being present in the moment, so that when you go home, you are present with the people there. You are not thinking of what happened earlier in the day. I had one therapist, because this, again, is a big issue with my colleagues, and one person said, on the way home, there was this one milestone kind of on the way home. I can't think of the word I'm looking for. Not milestone, you know what I'm trying to say. And he said that's where by the time I reached that, I had to leave everything. So whether it's a ritual, I have another.
I love that though. I
have another colleague who, to change her way of would watch cute cat videos. I am for me, music is incredibly therapeutic.
I think so too.
And or maybe it's just doing something mindless, whatever that may be. Maybe you have something when you come home where you just need to kind of process, let go of things, and then learn to be mindful. Unfortunately, it's just something you're going to have to practice.
It's a muscle. You have to exercise.
Exactly.
I always use that analogy. You have to exercise that muscle. And when you first start working that bicep, it hurts. It's hard. This is difficult. This is challenging.
I can never do that. That didn't work. But then didn't work. You tried one time.
Yeah. But then you get stronger.
Right.
A lot of our day-to-day things, it's exercising that muscle. Yeah, definitely.
So You Are Here is a great book to help you learn to practice mindfulness and meditation. That is really, I have clients who have changed their lives from meditating. Yeah. So give that a try. Again, you can reach out to us for something further, but we're, I think I stayed to my 5 minutes.
Yeah, I think you did. Let me also share that I've been doing a video the first of every month, and I just filmed the video for May 1st yesterday. And, this is on a little bit different topic, but it does tie in with the whole, just being stressed from the workday and you bringing it home. And this is something I've recognized with a lot of my clients that have very stressful jobs, whatever it is that's causing the stress. They have this vicious cycle when they get home where they turn to food. We all know food is comfort, and you either just accept it or you just live in misery. But most of us, even us clean eaters, we do find comfort in some food. Think about if you have something that you grew up eating, there's a sense of comfort that comes from something that you had as a child that makes you think of home. But because it's such a big issue of this coming home and I start snacking, I'm emotionally drained, I'm taxed. So before you know it, the night progresses and all those goals basically go to pot. Make sure you watch for the May 1st video because I do talk about that, and it goes back to it's a muscle that you have to exercise. It's a discipline because you've just created a bad habit and I call it buffering. And in that video, I even talk about how alcoholics get their buffer from alcohol, but those of us that have stressful jobs and we're using food to buffer those emotions, yeah, maybe we can get away with it because it's not a substance and no one's going to judge us and we're not going to get into trouble and we can operate machinery and we can drive a vehicle, we can take care of our kids, but we are just as guilty because we are buffering those emotions.
One other wonderful tip, go for a walk.
Oh, and I say that in the video.
Proven
yes.
that 20 minutes of walking outside is as effective as any antidepressant.
And you and I both do it.
Yes.
We do. We both. I
have to tell you, my vacation, I came home and I said, okay, I have to be on my phone less, be outside more.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, you get the vitamin D, you get the melatonin from the sun. It's win-win.
Yeah.
All
and
around.
Especially if you can do it do it on your own, but it's great to do it with someone that you feel just... I walk spring to fall with my daughter and I look forward to it so much. It's healthy in so many ways, but I do talk about that in that video and we both honor that. We definitely take advantage of it when we can in Michigan.
I am a fair weather walker, I have to say.
Oh, so am I. Even the first time I went, Kirsten said, Mom, are you sure it's like in the 40s? I'm like, I'm going to suck it up. I'm going to suck it up. I'm not playing the victim to the weather.
I saw your IG story the other day when you got right.
Yeah. Thank God I didn't have self-tanner on that day.
We were hiking in Sedona and we got back. I mean, it didn't rain that long, but we got back just in time. You don't want to be climbing these inclines in the rain. We'll say that much. Winds, rain, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Crazy. That's wonderful.
Thank you so much for joining us. Let us know in the comment section what you thought. And don't forget that next month we will be back and we will really hone in on the sex topic. I don't know if sexless marriage is going to need its whole video and then the other one can be everything else. I really don't know. I think we'll just see how it goes. But so happy you could join us. Thank you so much for all of the comments and questions that you've submitted for us to do this video tonight. We are here to give whatever we can, and we're just happy to have you along. We love all of you. All right, have a good night. Take care.
Cheers.
Cheers.